Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling something, well, pretty crucial for business, but often kind of uncomfortable. Navigating price increases, specifically in the B2B world.
And you've given us some great material here focusing on Jeb Blount's book, Selling the Price Increase. It's subtitled, The Ultimate B2B Field Guide for Raising Prices Without Losing Customers. So, yeah, pretty direct.
Right, and our mission today is really to pull out the key stuff for you, our listener.
Yeah.
We know you want those aha moments, the core ideas, without getting bogged down.
Exactly. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding the main challenges and strategies from the book, how to handle this tricky process. So let's just dive right in.
Okay, let's do it. What jumps out immediately, I think, is just how emotional this whole thing is. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet, is it?
Oh, not at all. That's a huge theme. There's this whole emotional landscape for the seller, real discomfort, sometimes actual fear.
Fear. Like, what are the main fears they face?
Well, the big ones are pretty clear. Fear of getting rejected flat out, fear of losing a good customer, and frankly, just wanting to avoid conflict. It's uncomfortable.
And the book digs into why that fear of rejection is so strong, doesn't it? It's more than just business nerves.
Yeah, it connects it right back to our evolutionary wiring. For thousands of years, being part of the group was survival. Getting kicked out, that was dangerous.
So that primal fear is still there, even in a sales meeting.
Kind of, yeah. A customer rejecting your price increase can feel like a social threat, triggering that old fight-or-flight response. It's a deep-seated thing. Dr. Walter Cannon's work gets mentioned here. The fear feels real because on some level it taps into that ancient programming.
Okay, so acknowledging that fear is natural is step one, but then how do you actually manage it? How do you have the conversation effectively?
Well, mastering that fear is central. Blount really hammers this point. The person with the most emotional control in that conversation usually gets the better outcome.
So if you're visibly anxious, the customer might push back harder.
Exactly. It signals a lack of confidence, maybe even that you don't fully believe in the increase. So getting a grip on your own emotions is crucial.
He even talks about becoming rejection-proof. That sounds intense.
It does, but the idea behind it, referencing Jia Jing's 100 Days of Rejection, is about building resilience through, exposure.
Deliberately seeking rejection.
Sort of, yeah. Not to enjoy it, obviously, but to learn to handle the emotional response. You practice, you get less reactive, you build that emotional muscle.
Okay, like mental training. And are there practical things you can do right before a tough conversation?
Definitely. Preparation is key. Things like positive visualization, actually picturing the conversation going well, and positive self-talk, countering those anxious thoughts. It sounds simple, but it helps manage the nerve.
Right. So manage the internal landscape first. Okay, we've talked seller emotions, but price increases are obviously driven by business needs too, right? The bottom line.
Oh, absolutely. That's the other side of the coin. Two main goals here. First, boosting profitability. And the book highlights how powerful even small price changes can be.
Yeah, those figures were pretty striking.
They really are. Citing that Harvard Business Review piece by Marn and Rosiello, a 1% price increase, that can boost operating profit by something like 11.1%, assuming volume holds.
Wow. Compared to increasing sales volume.
Much less impact from just volume. A 1% volume increase might only lift profits by about 3.3%. So pricing has serious leverage.
Okay, point taken. Pricing is a powerful profit lever. But the second goal you mentioned was relationships. How do those fit together? Isn't there a tension?
Huge tension. That's the tightrope walk. You need the profit, but you can't torch the customer relationship to get it. The customer's feeling through this process is critical.
You mean that old saying about how people forget what you said, but not how you made them feel?
Exactly that. Selling a price increase is deeply human. You're dealing with people, their emotions, their own pressures. You ignore that at your peril.
And triggering the wrong feelings. That can be disastrous.
Absolutely. You really want to avoid things like resentment, or even worse, contempt. Resentment simmers, makes them look for alternatives. Contempt, that just kills the relationship dead. Very hard to come back from.
So it's this delicate balance. Need the money, need the relationship. The book must point out some common ways people mess this up.
Oh yeah, pitfalls galore. Procrastination is a big one, putting off the bad news.
Why is delaying so bad? Seems like putting off an unpleasant task.
Well, it puts your customer in a terrible position. Suddenly their budgets are wrong, the plans are disrupted, it feels disrespectful.
And probably makes you seem disorganized or even sneaky.
Right. It forces a rushed, defensive conversation later, which undermines trust. Another big pitfall mentioned is just neglect.
Neglect? How so?
Blount calls it the grim reaper of account retention. Basically, if you only talk to customers when you want something, like a price increase, and ignore them otherwise, they feel unappreciated.
Makes them vulnerable to competitors, I guess.
Totally. The anecdote about Mackenzie illustrates this perfectly. Radio silence for months, then bam. Impersonal price hike email. Trust. Gone. Relationship. Seriously damaged.
Yeah, that example really lands. Consistent attention matters. What about the attitude you bring?
Crucial. Avoid acting like they need you more than you need them, even if you think you have leverage. That kind of arrogance breeds resentment fast.
So the golden rule applies.
Pretty much. Treat them with respect, like you'd want to be treated. They need to feel valued, especially when you're asking for more money.
Okay, pitfalls noted. Let's shift to strategy. Are all price increase conversations the same, or do you tailor the approach?
Definitely tailor. The book distinguishes between presenting and asking. For smaller, maybe more transactional accounts, you might just present the increase with a solid reason.
But for bigger strategic clients?
For those key accounts, it's often better to ask. That means a more collaborative approach. You build a strong business case, explain the why clearly, and seek their understanding, maybe even input. They know their value, often have more power, so partnership works better.
And either way, that why, the justification, is non-negotiable.
Absolutely essential. The because statement, referencing Cialdini's work, people are just much more likely to accept something, even bad news, if there's a reason given. It provides context.
Makes sense. What about this fit matrix idea? What's that for?
That's interesting. It's a tool to segment customers based on basically how easy they are to work with versus how profitable they are.
And the point is?
The point is, if you have customers who are consistently difficult and unprofitable, maybe they're, well, not a great fit anymore. The matrix helps identify them.
So you can.
Not necessarily directly fire them, but you might strategically use a significant price increase for those specific accounts. It makes your service less attractive to them, encouraging them to look elsewhere without an overt breakup. It's a way to reshape your portfolio.
Strategic repositioning through price. Clever. Now, communication channels. The book seems pretty specific about how to deliver the news.
Very specific. And the big don't is relying solely on email for the formal notification or the business case.
Why not email? It's efficient.
Too efficient, maybe. Too impersonal. Price increases need real-time synchronous communication. Phone call, video call, ideally face-to-face if possible.
Why is that real-time element so important?
Because you get tone of voice, you can read reactions, you can answer questions immediately, address concerns on the spot. Email is asynchronous messages, can be misinterpreted, emotions can fester without immediate clarification. You lose the chance for empathy and real dialogue.
Okay, so make it a conversation, not just a notification drop. What if the customer gets angry, though? That fight response you mentioned.
Yeah, when that happens, rule number 1, stay calm yourself. Don't react to their anger with your own. Let them vent. Listen. Like, really listen to understand why they're upset.
Don't jump in to defend immediately.
No, resist that urge. Your first job is de-escalation. Make them feel heard. Arguing or getting defensive just pours fuel on the fire.
Okay, listen. Stay calm, understand, then what? Negotiation often follows, right?
Often, yes. But first, make sure you know if it's an objection they disagree with the increase itself or actual negotiation. They accept the increase is happening but want to discuss terms.
And don't negotiate too early.
Right. That's a classic mistake. Don't start offering discounts or concessions before they've even accepted the principle of the price increase. Get the yes to the increase first, then talk terms if needed.
Makes sense. And when negotiating terms, how do you protect that price increase percentage you fought for?
That's where the idea of funny money comes in. It's not actual cash, but value-added concessions that don't erode your price point.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Sure, maybe slightly better payment terms, some extra training, early access to a new feature, bundling in a small related service. Things that cost you relatively little but offer value to the customer.
So you give something, but not necessarily a discount on the main price.
Exactly. It helps preserve the core price increase. The book also mentions using things like a give-take playlist or a sales negotiation map, basically. Planning your negotiation strategy. Know your limits, your targets.
Any other negotiation tidbits?
Oh, here's a neat one. Using precise numbers, not round ones, in negotiations. Like offering $10,850 instead of $11,000. It makes the number seem more calculated, less arbitrary, and potentially less negotiable.
Interesting psychological trick. Okay, wrapping up the strategy part. This doesn't all happen just because salespeople decide to do it. Leadership's role must be huge.
Absolutely critical. Blount talks about 3 pillars for leaders: leading, managing, and coaching.
Break those down quickly.
Sure. Leading is setting the vision, the why behind the increase, getting buy-in. Managing is the tactical stuff, planning the process, setting targets, providing resources.
And coaching.
That's the ongoing support for the team, helping them overcome their own fears, training them on the talk tracks, practicing the conversations, giving feedback. The leader has to map it out, equip the team, and then actively support them through execution.
Got it. So it's a top-down, well-managed, and coached process, ideally. It's definitely way more complex than just, updating a price list.
That really is the core message, isn't it? Success here involves understanding the psychology, careful strategic planning, really thoughtful communication and negotiation, and strong supportive leadership.
Yeah. The emotions are real for everyone involved, but manageable with the right approach. And keeping those relationships healthy is just as vital as hitting the profit numbers.
Exactly. Strategic communication, real-time dialogue helps build trust even during tough talks. And knowing how to negotiate smartly, using things like funny money, protects your goals. And leadership holds it all together.
This has been super insightful. You've really distilled the essence of Blount's approach for us. So for you, our listener, thinking about all this, the delicate dance between relationships and pricing, maybe ask yourself, what's one concrete thing you could do now to be better prepared for these kinds of conversations in your world?
Yeah, maybe it's about anticipating your own emotional reaction, or perhaps thinking about what value adds, what funny money you could potentially offer. Just one small step.
Something to mull over. We definitely encourage you to think about that, and maybe even check out Jeb Blount's book, Selling the Price Increase, if you want to go deeper.
Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive.
Yes, thanks for joining us.